Hello my dear friends, it's been a long time. I'm here to present to you guys my flat earth model. I've been working on this model since back in July. As you remember, some of you may have watched some of the videos where I went to this carver here in Japan and I brought him a thick piece of wood for him to carve out a flat earth map out of that piece of wood. So I'm here to present that to you. So this is what I have and I'm really happy about it. Okay, you have here the four corners, four columns, and I do want to add four angels here. I just have to find the right angel playing the trumpets. I'm going to demonstrate to you the circumnavigation. I have here two airplanes. I went about this nice 1/600 scale. I have two of them. One is a JAL, Japan Airlines. The other one is a Lufthansa. And I'm going to show this stuff to you in more details. You see the hours of the day, 24 hours, divided according to the longitude lines. I also have added the longitude line, the degrees, starting 0, 15 west, 30 west, but I explain along this video here. But the coolest thing about this thing is what I'm going to show you right now. As you guys are going to see now, I'm adding real water here. Okay, this is not just a model that is painted like the globe model is. We can add real water and demonstrate as a fact how things work on the flat earth. Alright, let's add water everywhere here. It's waterproof. And I was going to buy some fish. There's a pet store not far from here where they sell these tiny little fish, and I was just gonna throw them in here and demonstrate better. But how cool is this thing? Okay, you can actually throw some boats here. Alright, and there's one right here in the coast of Brazil, and they will circumnavigate. Alright, and you have the same time here circumnavigation over air. You have circumnavigation over water, and it's an amazing tool to demonstrate to people how the earth really is. The shape of the earth being flat, the oceans. But I'm going to break down in detail everything right now. I'm going to show you guys. So let's go back here. There's some more things that I want to talk to you about it. Alright guys, some more things that I want to add here. As you know, I have a book out called 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth. Basically, I was getting funds. The profit I was making on the book was just to build this model here. The carver alone cost me about almost $500, and so I don't make a lot of money in this. But since the model is ready, there are some more things that I want to add to it, like a dome. I need a 40 centimeters or about 18 inches dome that I want to add. I haven't found one yet around here. I know there are some online, but for shipping to Japan, they can become quite expensive. So I'm gonna add the dome here, and a few more things, the angels, as I said. So because I don't need to spend money anymore on this, I'm gonna make the PDF version of this book available for free starting today. So you're gonna find a link down in the comment section. Download for free, and please spread it out. I mean, pass it along, send to friends if you want to print it out. But it's nice in color, and the PDF version now is free. You can download them by the money that I needed for this, it's completed now. So feel free to download the book and send to friends and download and read this Thanksgiving holiday for Christmas. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate in detail some of the things that I have made with this flat Earth model. I'm really happy with it. So let's go ahead and enjoy the video and download the book today. All right. Okay, guys, a quick view here on this flat Earth model. As you see there, this is real water, not a painted globe. Like the globe can only be painted, cannot be any example made with real water like this one here. And as I will show you here, we have at about 1 centimeter, about half an inch of water. And you see the boats floating around. You see the Brazilian boats there. And the Japanese here in the coast of Japan. You have an American. We will, in a few minutes, we will reproduce a very important battle during the Second World War, when the Japanese ship Yamato was sunk by American forces. We here see a New Zealand boat floating in the Pacific. So let me explain here a little bit. We have here the Greenwich meridian, right here, 24. All right, you have there the boats floating, real water. The 24 hours, starting the longitude lines, each screw represent one longitude line. We have here 15 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees west, 60 degrees west, 75, 90 degrees west. Also the red screw means 1/4 over the flat Earth. This region here from 105 longitude up to 165 is unclaimed area, as I have stated in my book. I will show you in a couple minutes.
However, looking at these claims still doesn't explain Mary Birdland's status. The region has simply yet to be claimed by any legitimate power. This makes it the largest area on the planet not part of any nation.
However, looking at these claims still doesn't explain Mary Birdland's status. The region has simply yet to be claimed by any legitimate power. This makes it the largest area on the planet not part of any nation.
These are all unclaimed area. And this is a view from the top. Okay, so let's reproduce now a very important battle during the Second World War. It was the Battle of Okinawa, when the American forces were approaching Okinawa, and the Japanese sent one armada, and one of the largest ship during the World War II, Yamato, was sunk by American forces. Okay, let's look a little bit at the event.
In 1945, World War II reached Japan's home islands. The command of the Japanese Combined Fleet made a Bushido-style decision. Yamato, with the help of a light cruiser and 8 destroyers, was to defend the island of Okinawa and prevent the US troops from getting any further inland, or fight to the end and finish her journey gloriously. Executing this order on April 6, 1945, the legendary Japanese battleship sailed off to fight her last battle. The United States sent in its Task Force 58 to intercept the flagship of the Japanese Combined Fleet. The Americans would not miss the chance to destroy the symbol of Japan's naval power. As early as 10 a.m., the first US squadrons took off from 5 heavy and 4 light aircraft carriers, located about 300 miles away from Yamato. A total of 227 aircraft took part in the destruction of the Japanese force. The battle began at 12:34. 4 aerial bombs hit Yamato, taking out a 5-inch gun and several automatic cannons. In just 20 minutes, 2 more bombs struck the battleship and a torpedo hit her port side. In response, Yamato fired her anti-aircraft weapons. At 14:02, the Americans launched the last attack on the wounded, but still combat-capable Yamato. It was a demonstrative execution. 4 torpedoes, 3 to the port side and 1 to the starboard side, destroyed the ship's damage control center. Yamato stopped moving and started listing to port more and more every minute. And when this huge ship capsized, a monstrous explosion erupted. The pride and hope of the Japanese fleet went under. Together with the ship, 3,000 crew members were lost, including the commanders of the Japanese force and the ship. The city where the legendary battleship was built opened a museum, whose centerpiece is an 85-foot model of Yamato.
So the Japanese ship was trying to defend Okinawa from the American forces. It was heavily bombarded, and it was, suffered torpedoes, and was heavily attacked. And it was torpedoed, and it was destroyed and sank, and that no more Japanese Yamato. It was destroyed, and we can put it on the bottom of the ocean there. There was Yamato, was gone. Okay. So all these things can easily be reproduced on this flat earth map with real water. You see the remains of Yamato on the bottom of the ocean there. And if I shake this, you can see how the vibration causes the water to, Now, a lot of things I could have done here, it's just that it takes a lot of time. But if I had included like a small pump here through a hole and a small pump, air pump, I could make the ocean currents going around. If I had made a hole here, I could easily make the tides by sinking in a little bit and then pumping back the water, the tides going up and down. This being real water, I can, make a lot of vibrations here and waves and tsunamis. Not like the globe, no matter, they show you CGIs and paintings, but they cannot reproduce the globe like it is right here. Nothing like this can be reproduced in the globe. They can only make this CGI. Now this is a very nice model which I can use it in presentations, I can use in debates, I can use in universities, anywhere. I mean, I'm not afraid of showing this and debating anybody, professors, scientists, because I can reproduce everything I say here in this model, the time zones and the path of the sun, the circumnavigations by air, by the sea, and all can easily be reproduced in this model, everything. So I don't need to bring a computer. Actually, I can show everything here. I don't need CGI, I don't need printing, nothing. All I need is this model and a liter of water, half gallon of water, a pint, and I can reproduce everything. I can bring the boats, show how the circumnavigations can be done. I can show like tsunamis work and circumnavigation by air. Everything can be done, can be made, reproduced here in this model. And if I can work on this a little bit more, I don't know when or if I will do it, but I can add like, a mechanism here to show the times. I can even make a sundial out of this. Make a sundial. And there's a lot of things that can be done in this model that could never be made in any globe. No matter how much you pay, how expensive it is, most globes say not to be used for education purpose. They do have globes, some that are sold very expensive for education purpose, but I mean there is nothing that you can really do on that globe. Here's a model I found online, $3,900, about $4,000, and it doesn't have the oceans here. You can go ahead and buy this one if you want to prove it, and add water, make it stick, about 1 inch, about 3/4 of an inch of water, and let some fish swim in there like I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put some fish swimming in my flat earth model. And when I'm going to take this to present to other people, I'm going to bring some fish and leave it swimming around. So just try to do it. This is a model 3,900. This is supposed to be for education. All right. This is just one for sale out there. So the challenge for globers is to carve out the oceans of a globe and try to fill with water like I did, at least 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter, and reproduce like the Yamato sinking, the circumnavigation by sea, by Captain Ross and Magellan. We can reproduce here. This is Antarctica, the wall, and you can see right there where the barrier, the ice barrier is, where the Captain Admiral Byrd went. And several boats have to stop right there because that's the barrier. The Bible points it as the barrier. The waters shall not pass. And it is contained, the water is contained here in this model.
At long last the dice fell our way, for the elements acted in our favor. The wind and the tide which had closed the ice in around us finally opened the pack, so that we could break our way into more open sea. We had added nearly 500,000 square miles to the Pacific Ocean. And here is our journey's end. At length we sighted that great natural phenomenon, the ice barrier.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern. I think the biggest stumbling block I'll face on the journey is the loss of my thumbs to frostbite and gangrene. It shouldn't affect the mountain climb itself, but it will make signing autographs virtually impossible. Okay!
truth! You can't handle the truth! Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom.
Real life, yo. I'm just saying the skullduggery of scientists led us to this point in believing this bullshit.
What bullshit exactly?
That the Earth is a sphere when it so clearly is flat. See? You ain't even willing to question it. That's how they get you.
If the Earth's flat, then how come no one's ever fallen off the side?
Easy answer, Antarctica.
Truman! Truman! No! That's off limits!
Why? What's over there?
Nothing. It's dangerous, that's all. You've got to know your limitations, Truman.
Go celibate, the whores would go begging from dawn to Casterly Rock. No, I just want to stand on top of the wall and piss off the edge of the world.
I knew it would be taking a big chance, but it seemed the only way. As we started alongside the barrier with our ships, suddenly the edge shook.
Real water, but it's contained here in this model. All right, this just like our flat Earth. There's no difference between this model and another. Now, this is just to study, to demonstrate how things occur, happen on the flat Earth, and it can be shown by experiments, by mechanisms like this, not in theory, as Michio Kaku says, that in his field, they do no experiments. They don't have models like this one. They just theorize. They just sit down and think about it and give their opinion, but they cannot reproduce something like this.
You're not going to believe this. In science, we always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you go make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
They just talk. It's just empty talk, hot air, not really anything that can be reproduced. Let's first start with circumnavigation of the flat Earth. Let's start with Magellan, Portuguese captain. He betrayed the King of Portugal, so he worked for the Spanish king.
In 1519, the Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan sailed in the service of Spain to seek a new route to the Spice Islands of the East Indies. After a 3-month voyage across the Atlantic, Magellan's fleet of 5 ships made a landfall on the coast of Brazil. Exploring southward, the expedition spent the winter in a sheltered bay on the coast of Patagonia, where Magellan suppressed an attempted mutiny and executed the captain of one of his ships. The voyage was resumed in the spring, but one vessel ran aground and had to be abandoned, its crew spread among the rest of the fleet. In October, Magellan entered the straits that were later to bear his name. One ship deserted the fleet, but the expedition completed the passage and emerged into the Pacific Ocean in November 1520. Sailing north along the coast and then westward, the fleet headed out into the unknown ocean. They crossed the equator and made a landfall on Guam, one of the Mariana Islands, in March 1521. Reaching the Philippines in April, Magellan and 40 of his men were killed when they became involved in a local war. The remaining crewmen abandoned one vessel and spent the next several months raiding passing ships. In September, Juan Sebastian del Cano assumed command of the voyage, and the 2 remaining ships, the Trinidad and the Victoria, sailed to the Moluccas Islands to trade for spices. The heavily laden Trinidad ran aground and was left behind to make repairs, but the crew were later captured by the Portuguese and imprisoned. The lone Victoria continued the journey westward. The Cape of Good Hope was rounded in May 1522, and the ship returned to Spain the following September. The original crews of 270 men were now reduced to just 17 Europeans and 4 East Indians. In a 3-year voyage, begun by Magellan and completed by Del Cano, the expedition had discovered a new route to the Pacific and had completed the first circumnavigation.
And he sailed, he left Europe. I have a Portuguese flag on this boat because he was actually Portuguese. Magellan, his real name is Fernão de Magalhães, from Portugal, sailing for the King of Spain. So he left Europe and he sailed. He sailed around South America, and he actually sailed through the Strait of Magellan, but the boat is not that small. It's 2 centimeters long, so the boat, let's make it going around here, right around the tip of South America. From here, it sailed all the way to the Philippines, right? And that's when he died. Then he went through these islands here. He went through these islands, and then he sailed around Africa, Cape of Good Hope, and went back to Europe. That's how he went around the world. Easily explained on the flat Earth. Okay, went back to Europe, right there.
After sailing over 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, Captain Cook was never able to complete the journey around the ice continent, which is supposed to be just under 12,000 miles around. Neither was James Clark Ross or the British ship Challenger.
That's the boat. Captain Cook left England, and same thing, he sailed around South America. Right? And then from here he stopped in Tahiti, which is right here in the middle of the Pacific. Then he reached New Zealand. From New Zealand he went to Sydney. Right? He also went through these islands right here, but we can actually go around Australia. From Australia, he sailed to around South Africa. From South Africa, back to England. This is how he sailed around the world. This is how we sail around the Earth on the flat Earth map. All right? Now let's take a look at this circumnavigation by air. Let's see both airplanes flying around the flat Earth. One airplane is flying along the Tropic of Capricorn. The inner one is flying along the Tropic of Cancer. This is how we circumnavigate the flat Earth. By air. We have just seen how to circumnavigate the flat Earth over the sea, the little boats. Now we look here how we circumnavigate the flat Earth by air. We have two airplanes, and this is how they do. This is exactly how to circumnavigate over the flat Earth. Right here we see the airplane flying from Sydney to Chile, South America. As I describe in chapter 14 of my book, 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth, they fly along the jet stream, which goes right here. It's a jet stream. That's how this airplane is flying. Same thing from South America to South Africa. Same thing from South Africa to Australia.
What it is an airplane that shows what future air travel may look like. Yes, it's almost as wide as a football field is long with just one seat. But just as the Wright brothers couldn't carry passengers, Solar Impulse represents the first steps in solar-powered flight. And to prove its potential, they began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific. Remember, it has no fuel. It then was on to the United States, hopscotched across America, powered only by the sun, and now it has crossed its last ocean, the Atlantic. Not much further to go. They began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific. Remember, it has no fuel. It then was on to the United States, hopscotched across America, powered only by the sun, and now it has crossed its last ocean, the Atlantic. Not much further to go.
Okay guys, as I was experimenting with the lights at night, I found very similarities with this model that we see here. When the light was really low, closer to the to the model, to the ocean continents, you could see the shade was much bigger than the spotlight. Okay, the spotlight was small comparing to the shade. And then as I lifted, the light would bright in some more places. Now, the conclusion is that just like we know, sometimes we have learned that the sun, it goes higher altitude or lower altitude, and that's how it works on the flat Earth. That's why we have different shades, as we see in this video. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is very interesting stuff. These two ladies, one in Brazil, one here in Japan, they were filming on WhatsApp. They were talking on WhatsApp at sunset. So as you observe right here, when the sun is above Africa, okay, it's a sunrise in Brazil, sunset in Japan. So that's what was happening. It was almost 6 in the afternoon. Both of them were talking on WhatsApp. You see the larger image, the ladies in Japan, and the tiny one on the bottom, the other lady was in Brazil. And one was, look, she's pointing, showing her watching in Japan. Her cell phone here, it was almost 6 p.m. The sun was setting. That was in September. while it was almost 6 a.m. in Brazil, the sun was rising. So at this moment, the sun is directly above Africa. As you can see on the model, on the side, my flat Earth model, I have the sun stopping right above Africa and showing how it can be sunrise in Brazil and sunset in Japan. She's showing with her location. She was in Osaka, not far from here, about 2 hours if you take the bullet train. I'm in Nagoya. And she was talking to someone in Brazil, and they were, just pointing out, look, the sun is setting here and it's rising in Japan, 6 p.m. Yeah, the sun was setting in Japan, rising in Brazil was 6 p.m. in Japan, 6 a.m. in Brazil. All right, so that's her location right here in Japan. She even showing her, where she was standing at that very moment. And, if you see this small tiny image on her cell phone, where she was showing that the image from the other person speaking from Brazil, the same time, sunrise in Brazil, sunset in Japan, the sun being directly above Africa at this time. Okay, just as you see on my model, everything ahead is AM, daytime. Everything behind the sun would be PM. Okay, wherever the sun goes, according to the time zones, it's AM in front of the sun, PM behind. That's the path of the sun around the flat Earth. So this is also one of the things I added to my model, and I can show this to my friends and students, and I can use it anywhere just to demonstrate how the flat Earth works. Everything is explained in this model. We don't need fancy CGI as NASA or the other scientists produce. I can actually use this model and demonstrate how the flat Earth works to anyone and anybody. Okay, so they are showing there on the globe how where this. It would be impossible for the sun to be seen from both locations at that time, at that day, but they were talking to each other and demonstrating how the sun, it was setting in Japan and rising in Brazil, 6 p.m. in September. Right? And the flat Earth model, when I stop the sun above Africa, it shows exactly how it is. We can reproduce this effect.
The Flat Earth Map, Darling Park, Sydney.
So I'm here at Darling Park, which is in Sydney, just near Darling Harbour. Behind me is a map, a flat Earth map, which is in the form of a fountain with water. So anyway, it's interesting why there's got a flat Earth map here, and also inside the foyer there's also a flat Earth map as a clock. And if you understand the symbolism, the UN logo has a flat Earth map, National Maritime logo is a flat Earth map. So one would have to question, why is this so? Why are these, very prominent, powerful organisations showing a flat Earth map in their logos? Is there something that they know that we don't? Is there some other reason? Is it a mere coincidence? I don't think so. Also around this area, which I'll show in some photos, is lots of symbolism of pyramids, which of course ties into secret societies, Illuminati, all stemming back to sort of Egyptian culture. The capstone on the pyramid, the significance being that at the top of the pyramid system is the concentration of power and knowledge, and it filters down to the lower levels where people don't really know what's going on, things that are concealed from people. So the flat Earth map is very much like that, which I'll just show now. So these things are sort of hidden in plain sight. So generally, we're told that where we live is a globe, and it's not really questioned. As soon as you question that, of course, people think, you're something wrong with you. But, everything should be questioned. And actually, when you look at the history of the globe, it's only about 500 years old.
How much water is on Earth? Earth is special because it has so much water. It's in the ground, forms big oceans, and it's in our atmosphere. It's also in living things. Your body is made up mostly of water. Water covers 71% of Earth's surface. And almost all of it, 96.5%, is salt water.
So here's my challenge to globe believers. Here we have an example of a globe Earth without the oceans. It's a CGI image, of course, made in the computer. So I'm challenging you, all globe believers who really believe the heliocentric model, to go ahead and have a ball Earth carved out of wood, just like these examples here. You can have it made in any material you want: concrete, iron, aluminum, or wood, whatever, or plastic like this one. Add water to it and see if it sticks. If it does it, then I will definitely believe the water sticks to a ball and that the globe Earth theory is correct. Otherwise, I challenge you to have a model made like the one that I've made with real water. You can pay somebody to carve it out of wood, so you have a wooden ball, but it cannot be painted. Okay, here you see some people painting the globe, painting the oceans, blue. No, it cannot be fake stuff, paint or CGI. You gotta come up with a model with real water. I have added almost actually 1.5 centimeters, about 3/4 of an inch of water to my model. And I am challenging any university, college student, scientist out there to come up with a model, a globe Earth model, where you can add water to its surface, at least 3/4 of an inch of water, like I did, and prove it. If you believe the heliocentric model is true, prove it. Okay, make a model, construct it. Stop with theories only like Michio Kaku said. You come up with philosophy or whatever. Make a model. Prove that the heliocentric model really can work, and stop painting or producing CGI images. Do like I did. That's my challenge to all of you globe believers out there.